Hello and welcome. Today we're diving into a question that honestly affects every single one of us. How do we deal with a lifetime of financial what ifs? From unexpected accidents to maybe living way longer than we ever planned for, the future is just packed with financial risk.
Really think about it for a second. Are you going to live to be 100, needing cash for decades after you retire? Or could you face a major illness, next week? These aren't just philosophical questions. They have huge, real-world financial consequences. So how on earth can anyone build a solid plan when the future is, well, a total mystery?
Well, it turns out there is, and they're called actuaries. Think of them as the financial architects, the risk navigators of our entire economy. They're the pros who look right into that fog of uncertainty and actually build the tools that let us and big institutions plan for it. Okay, let's get into what that really means. At its absolute core, this is what an actuary does. They use a powerful mix of math, statistics, and financial theory to basically put a price tag on risk. Now, this isn't about having a crystal ball to predict the future. Nope. It's all about understanding the financial fallout of what could happen. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how they do that. We'll look at who depends on them, we'll dive into the two big tools they use, that's insurance and pensions, and then we'll bring it all back to the financial choices you're probably facing right now. Right at the heart of our financial world, there's this constant battle against risk. So who are the major players that really need to get a handle on it? Which leads to the big question. Who actually hires these experts to manage these massive financial risks? You might be surprised by just how long and varied this list is. Yeah, look at this. The sheer variety is what's so fascinating. It's not just the obvious ones like insurance companies or pension funds. We're talking about governments needing them for things like Social Security, banks needing them to model incredibly complex financial risks. Even the regulators rely on them to make sure the whole system doesn't fall apart. Their work is everywhere. And this quote right here really gets to the professional soul of what they do. An actuary working on a pension plan isn't just crunching numbers for the company that hired them. They have this profound duty to think about the employees who are counting on that pension, the trustees managing it, really the whole ecosystem. It's a serious ethical balancing act.
So, how do actuaries help all these different clients manage risk? Well, they've got this toolkit, and there are two main tools inside. Let's pull out the first one. Insurance. This is all about protecting us from the unexpected.
When you boil it down, an insurance contract is a pretty simple promise. You pay a small, predictable fee. That's your premium. In return, if a specific bad thing happens, say a car crash or a flood, the insurance company gives you a much bigger chunk of money to cover your losses. So you might be wondering, how can they afford to pay out these huge sums? Well, it's through something that's almost like magic, risk pooling. Picture this. Everyone on your street puts, say, $100 into a shared pot to protect against a fire. Most years, nobody's house burns down, so that pot just keeps growing. But if one unlucky person's house does catch fire, they get a massive payout from that pool to rebuild. Suddenly, a huge, unpredictable risk for one person becomes a small, manageable cost for everyone. That's insurance in a nutshell. But you can't insure just anything. A risk has to check a few boxes. You need a lot of similar people or things to pool together, and you need good data to figure out the odds. The loss has to be something you can put a dollar figure on. And, this is a big one, you have to minimize what's called moral hazard. That's the danger that people might get reckless because they're insured. This is exactly why you can insure your car, but you can't insure your lottery ticket. All right, on to the second major tool in the actuary's kit. While insurance protects against what might happen, pensions are all about planning for something that for most of us will happen: retirement. So a pension is really just a system for saving money while you're working, so you can create an income for yourself after you stop. But, and this is a big but, how that promise of future income is actually made can be wildly different. And that brings us to the two main flavors of pension plans. First, you have defined benefit, or DB. Here, your employer makes a solid promise. You'll get a specific income in retirement, usually based on your salary and how long you worked there. They take on all the risk. Then you have defined contribution, or DC. In this case, the only promise is about what goes in, the contributions. What you get out depends entirely on how your investments do. All the risk, it's on you. So, if you take one thing away about pensions, let it be this.
When you look at any plan, the number one question you have to ask is who is taking the risk? Is it the company guaranteeing a specific payout? Or is it the employee just hoping their investments do well? The answer to that single question changes absolutely everything. Okay, let's zoom out and bring this all back home. Because these ideas, insurance and pensions, they aren't just for huge corporations. They represent the fundamental trade-offs that every single one of us has to think about in our own lives.
This really boils it down, doesn't it? With insurance, you're choosing to pay a small, definite cost right now for protection against a huge what-if loss down the road. With pensions, you're choosing to give up some spending money today for a secure, predictable income when you're older. In both cases, you're sacrificing a little bit now for a lot more security later.
And that's what it all comes down to, really. It's a personal question. There's no one-size-fits-all answer. It depends on your life, your goals, your own comfort with the unknown. But now that you understand the basic principles that actuaries use to manage risk on a massive scale, you're that much better equipped to manage it for yourself. So, what trade-offs are you going to make?